Welcome to another Explainer from Forge College. I'm thrilled you're tuning in today. We are unpacking the exact engineering mechanics behind Ethereum transaction fees. You know, if you've ever stared at a block explorer, scratching your head, wondering why on earth you just paid $5 to move a $2 token, well, you are in the perfect place. We're going to lift the hood, bypass all that dense jargon, and figure out exactly how these costs are calculated on the network. Now, you might be asking, wait a minute. Didn't we literally just finish deploying a program on Solana Cloud in our last lesson? Yup, we sure did, and we had an absolute blast over there with those lightning-fast speeds and practically zero costs. We did, but strap in because today we are pivoting right back to Ethereum. We'll be quickly covering the core components, diving into a really helpful theater metaphor, demystifying gwei and wei, and finally doing some real-world math. All right, Section 1, Core Components of Fees. Let's unroll the transaction blueprint and break a fee down into its three measurable parts. The foundation of it all is the base fee. So this is an algorithmically determined minimum price per gas unit for the entire block. Think of it as the network's strict reserve price at any given exact moment. And what's honestly super fascinating here is that this fee doesn't even go to the validators. It actually gets completely burned by the protocol. It's permanently removed from circulation, which acts as a deflationary mechanism for Ethereum itself. Pretty cool, right? Next up is the priority fee, which, let's be real, most people just call the tip. This is your tactical, voluntary incentive. Because space in a block is strictly limited, you attach this per-gas tip to incentivize a block proposer to include your transaction sooner rather than later. So if the base fee is the mandatory cover charge at the door, the priority fees is that extra cash you slide across the table to get the true VIP treatment. And finally, we have gas used. Now, while those first two components are prices, gas used is a measurement of actual, literal work. It measures the raw computational effort and the storage changes that your transaction required the Ethereum virtual machine to actually execute. Every single time you move a token, write to a smart contract, or even just calculate a number, it ticks this gas counter up. Section 2, the ticketed theater metaphor. Let's map these technical terms to the real world so they actually stick. To make sense of how all these pieces interact without getting bogged down in the math, let's imagine a highly demanded ticketed theater. The theater sets a nightly ticket price for every single seat, right? And it's based entirely on demand. If it's a Friday night and everyone wants to see the show, the price goes up. This perfectly maps to the block-wide base fee. Every single person in that theater is paying the exact same baseline ticket price for that specific night. But what if you're running late? Or maybe you just want to skip the line or guarantee the usher gives you a prime spot. You slip a little gratuity to the usher. This is exactly like attaching a priority fee for the miner or validator. The nightly ticket price, that goes to the theater, but the tip goes directly into the pocket of the person seating you. And crucially, we have this concept of reserved versus occupied seats. When you buy tickets, you might reserve a large block of, say, 10 seats, just in case your whole party shows up. That right there is your gas limit. But our imaginary theater has an absolutely amazing refund policy. They only charge you for the seats your party actually occupies during the performance. That is your gas used. You set a limit to cap your maximum spend, but you are only billed for the computational seats you actually sit in. Moving on to Section 3, Measuring in gwei and wei. Time to look at transaction units. This is where almost everyone makes their first massive measurement error, so pay close attention. Under the hood, transaction fees are denominated in a unit called wei, and wei is incredibly tiny. It literally takes 10 to the 18th power wei to equal one single whole Ethereum token. That's a 1 followed by 18 zeros. It's just a massive, clunky number that is practically hostile to human eyes. Because 10 to the 18th is basically impossible to read at a quick glance, block explorers displayed prices in gwei, which actually stands for giga-wei. 1 gwei equals 10 to the 9th power wei. It chops off 9 whole zeros, making it so much easier for us humans to say things like, hey, gas is at 30 gwei, instead of trying to casually say gas is at 30 billion wei. So here is the absolute most crucial point of the day. Never, ever confuse the integer count of your gas units with the monetary price of gwei or wei. Gas units are just a raw tally of computational steps, like counting 21,000 physical seats in the theater. Gwei, on the other hand, is the actual currency you pay per seat. You've got to convert them consistently. Otherwise, you'll run the math and think you accidentally spent the GDP of a small nation on a simple token transfer. Okay, Section 4, Real-World Transaction Math. Let's put on our engineering hats and calculate the final cost. I want you to think of this slide as your ultimate on-chain cheat sheet. If you're digging into a block explorer, look for the base fee right there in the block header. Need the priority fee? Look inside the specific transaction payload you sent. And for the actual gas used, you'll find that permanently recorded on the transaction receipt after the execution is completely finished. To find the actual price you're paying per unit of gas, you calculate what's called the effective gas price. And it's super simple. You just add the block's base fee to the priority fee you offered, the mandatory ticket price plus your usher's tip. That gives you your true effective price per computational step. And here is the grand finale calculation. You multiply your actual gas used by that effective gas price to get your total cost in gwei. Boom. From there, you can easily convert it to gwei or ETH to see the actual financial hit to your crypto wallet. Let's look at a quick comparison to really drive this home. If you compare a simple native ETH transfer to a complex ERC20 token transfer, you'll immediately see why costs differ. A simple native transfer almost always takes exactly 21,000 gas units, but a token transfer, that involves executing smart contract logic, checking balances, emitting events, all of which takes roughly 65,000 gas units. So, assuming the effective gas price is identical for both on a given day, the token transfer costs more, simply because it occupies way more seats or gas units. It just requires more heavy lifting from the network. Finally, Section 5, Next Steps and Takeaways. Let's prep for some on-chain validation. When you're measuring fees yourself, here's a really handy 3-step workflow to follow. First, methodically record the base fee from the block header. Second, extract your exact gas used from the receipt. And third, compute the total while keeping your unit conversions incredibly clean. Remember, if you multiply gas by gwei, your resulting number is in gwei. Don't mix them up. So keep these core principles in the back of your mind. Base fees explain systemic network congestion. If the base fee is high, the whole network is crowded. Priority fees, however, are your tactical lever for competitive inclusion. It's exactly how you jump the queue. And above all else, always double-check your gwei-to-wei conversions. Ultimately, understanding gas isn't just about saving a few bucks. It's about realizing that block space on a decentralized network is literally one of the most highly contested digital commodities on Earth. So, are you ready to pull up a block explorer and calculate these costs yourself in our next lesson? Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me for this Forge College Explainer. Be sure to visit forge.college to learn more about Ethereum fundamentals and plenty of other Web3 topics. I'll see you in the next one.